You are watching India Global. I'm Parmeshwar Bava. Our big focus this week, 8 former Indian Navy personnel have been handed death penalty in Qatar. We also take a look at whether the India-Canada fallout will impact Indian students with India's leading educational consultant, Viral Doshi. But our big focus, 8 former officers of the Indian Navy have been handed death sentences in Qatar. They actually face serious charges that have not been made public by either Qatar or India. But reacting to the development, the Foreign Ministry described it as shocking. But the Foreign Ministry refused to comment much on the case given the confidential nature of the proceedings. But they have said that they will contest the case, and the men have been in jail since 2022, August to be precise, and granting consular access to them, New Delhi has been working to secure their release. The men actually went to trial back in March. For further clarity on this story, we're joined by former ambassador to Qatar and Lebanon, Sanjeev Arora. He joins us live at the moment. Thank you so much, Ambassador, for joining us. Ambassador, what's the way forward?
Well, good evening, Parmeshwar, and thanks for having me. It is indeed an extremely serious and an unprecedented development in our relations with the state of Qatar, and for that matter, in any bilateral relationship. Now, I'm not going to talk about allegations, charges, because I have to time and again say report it, right? You don't know what are the allegations, you don't know what are the charges, neither do I. And how much information is available with our government, the government would know. But the way forward is through very, very swift and astute diplomacy.
Right.
After all, we have enjoyed excellent relations with this country for a very, very long time, and multi-dimensional cooperation. And the well-being and welfare of our community has always been a foremost priority. At the same time, we have to be mindful of the fact that this is something that is sub judice. And the first court in which the trial has been held has already pronounced a sentence which is the harshest possible sentence.
Right. If you're comfortable answering this,
whatever be the nature of allegations, whatever be the charges, that of course has a certain, understandably, a strong humanitarian dimension.
Ambassador, but if you're comfortable answering this, what is the legal recourse available in such cases?
And also their families. So I would suggest a phone conversation at the highest level. The leaders keep on having conversations, and somebody at a very senior level in our government who is trusted by the Qatari leadership to be sent. I mean, this would be one of the many issues discussed, but of course, this would be possibly, I would say, or certainly on top of the list in any such conversation. And side by side, the legal process has to proceed, has to take its course. These two are not inconsistent. Certainly, the lawyers on behalf of our nationals would make an appeal to the higher court and so on. So they have their own well-defined hierarchy in the judicial system. That will proceed as I have said. That is
right, Ambassador. Ambassador, India has a treaty with Qatar, as you've just briefly mentioned, among several other countries, regarding repatriation of prisoners. Will that apply in this case?
Yes, there is an agreement. It is it's called a transfer of prisoners, if I recall the title correctly. And as I recall, actually, this was signed during the visit. That was the first visit of, and so far the only one, the state visit of His Highness, the Amir of Qatar, to India in March 2015. So there is an agreement on transfer of sentenced prisoners. Now it is really for the legal experts to give the appropriate counsel with regard to the legal measures and also keeping in view that the punishment in this case is the harshest possible.
Right. Also, Ambassador, you are well aware that there are over 7 lakh Indians in Qatar. Our countries
Yes.
also have close economic ties. Does this give India any extra room to negotiate, or do you see this verdict as a crisis for both our countries' relationship?
Well, no, I would not label it as a crisis.
Okay.
First of all, it is a judicial process. And we, of course, are very concerned. The Ministry of External Affairs has expressed, if I recall, the release, deep shock. And well,
Absolutely.
so far, I'm not aware of what actions were taken ever since this issue started. But we really need absolutely front-footed and astute diplomacy. I would not describe. I would suggest. I am sure. I have no doubt that you see, wise counsel would prevail on both sides. You are very right. The relationship is very multifaceted. You see, nearly 2/3 of our total import of natural gas is from the state of Qatar.
Right.
We have a highly regarded, very vibrant Indian community. Currently, I think it is over 7.5 lakhs out of the total population of
Yes.
Qatar. That is about 25 lakhs.
Yes.
And well, we have ties in so many fields. We have,
Right.
investments by the Sovereign Wealth Fund of Qatar. Private sector, our companies have been awarded contracts ahead of FIFA 2022. We have a defense agreement.
Well,
That's
Ambassador,
what you
this
have.
is a developing story, so we will, of course, revert to you for your opinion on it. For now, thank you so much. I'm afraid I'm out of time. Thank you so much, Ambassador, for joining us on NDTV. Let's take a look at the other big focus on India Global. Well, on the 25th of October, India resumed visa services in certain categories for Canadian citizens, nearly a month after they were suspended in the aftermath of Canada's allegations of Indian involvement in the killing of Hardeep Singh Nijjar. Canada has shut down consulates in Chandigarh, Mumbai and Bengaluru. But even though India and Canada are locked in a diplomatic spat, Canada has shown the steepest growth in granting citizenship to foreign nationals. Canada actually logged the biggest proportionate increase, about a 174% jump between the year 2021 and 2022 among host countries. This is as per the report that's been released by the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development that actually reveals that in 2023, Indians formed the largest national group acquiring rich country citizenship. Meanwhile, the OECD, which consists of 38 countries, witnessed a surge in students from Asian nations, especially India and China. And as per the MEA, Indians now study in more than 240 countries globally. But while the UK, US and Canada still remain the preferred choice, are students also considering other countries for further studies and subsequent employment? Well, for further clarity, joining us on India Global, Viral Doshi, leading educational consultant, Tinks Taneja, an Indian student who studied in the US and is now working there in Philadelphia, Savar Bali, who has studied in the US as well as the UK, and an immigration expert, Rohit Sharma. I'd like to begin with Mr. Viral Doshi, the Indian guru of Ivy League applications. Sir, thank you so much for making time for us. Now, given the current India-Canada face-off in the diplomatic spat, will going to Canada for higher studies be difficult for Indian students?
I think, Paramesh, for answering this question, we need to put things in perspective. If you look at Canada, over the years, you have seen an exponential increase in number of students applying to Canada. Why is that? A, is a very friendly nation. They welcome you with open arms. Two, lots of facilities for research and extracurricular activities. Number three, job opportunities are tremendous. And fourth, the attraction is to get that permanent residence to settle down in Canada. As a result, Canada has become a very popular destination in the last 10 years I've seen in India. But lately, because of the political fallout, a lot of people have been asking me what is going to happen in Canada. I still believe it's a hiccup. I think things will improve. If I talk to students at the ground level in Canada, they're extremely happy. The political fallout has not impacted them at all. I think we read more about it in our papers out here, so we feel that the impact is there. But answering your question, as students are now getting ready to apply for next year, there is a bit of apprehension. Parents and students both are concerned that what will happen. Will the visa come on time? Will we get there? Will our children be welcomed out there? Will we get a job after that or not? These are apprehensions. But I think in spite of all these apprehensions, people are still applying. There may be a slight drop in applications, but people are still applying because Canada is a very favored destination. So what they're going to do is they're going to apply. There may be a small drop, but they'll have a wait and watch attitude. And sometime by May, June, when the decisions come out and see what the political scenario is, I think then they will take decision. But I don't see a major drop in application to Canada at all. I think on the contrary, people will still apply to Canada. And I think what I must give credit to is the Canadian universities. The admission directors have really reached out to students and parents, both through emails and seminars, and made them very comfortable. Look here, this is a hiccup. It's not impacting college life at all. So please do apply. I think parents eventually want assurance, and that assurance is coming from the Canadian colleges. So I really honestly don't feel there's going to be too much of a change, believe me. But yes, people will talk about in the cocktail circuit, what should we do, what we shouldn't do. But eventually when it comes to our applications, people will still apply, but have a wait and watch attitude and see whether the visas are coming in time. If they do get the visas, they'll definitely be going.
Mr. Doshi, but if not Canada, then where else for Indian students? We know the United Kingdom, the United States and Australia are popular choices. But do you see students branching out beyond these options to, let's say, Europe and other countries?
No, if you look at overseas education, I would say between USA, Canada and UK, they must be taking 90% of students who are going overseas today. And the balance 10% would have gone to Australia, maybe to Europe, to Singapore, to Hong Kong, to Dubai. But still, I believe things are not going to change so rapidly that people will be looking at other countries. But yes, people are looking at other countries. To some extent, Europe is getting a little more popular right now because of the cost, very friendly. But Europe has its disadvantages of being a little more insular. In college, you study in English, but outside it's in a foreign language. Number two, the networking in European colleges has become a bit of a challenge because, again, it's populated with the local population out there. So that does become a challenge. And eventually, when you go to college, you also go for the networking, isn't it? You also go for the whole atmosphere out there. This is sometimes a bit of a challenge in the European colleges. But in Europe, Netherlands is becoming quite popular. France is also getting out there. Germany, for people who want to do technical education, looking quite popular. But it's not really exponentially increased what you see in other countries. Today, when you tell me you want to go overseas, as I said, 90% will go to USA, Canada and UK. And if students will not go to Canada, they will look at UK as a very serious option because for two reasons. One, in UK, the cost is as much as Canada. It's not as expensive as America. Two, you finish in 3 years. And two, the job placements in UK are fabulous now. I think the whole scenario has changed with the new visa regime. So UK is going to become a very strong destination. USA will increase, but USA is a very expensive education, the private colleges. But there will be increase in US admissions also. People are going to play safe now. They will apply to Canada, but will also apply to colleges in USA and UK. And a few of them will also apply to college places in Singapore. Singapore is a good destination to go to. The challenge in Singapore, you have limited colleges. You've got SMU, NUS, and NTU. So not too many choices out there. So Europe does become a destination. But when I say Europe, actually it's going to be more of UK. UK will definitely see a substantial increase of applicants applying out there because of the positive impact of the visa regime out there. More and more people have been looking at UK over the last 5 years, which is not the case before the new visa regime set in. So I don't think new countries, they will see upsurge, but not as substantial as UK will see and Canada will see. But believe me, Canada will not have a drop in applications. It will be a wait and watch review and take a decision by next June, July.
Right, sir. Then for students already in Canada, what's next? You've already mentioned that this diplomatic row has not penetrated classrooms, thankfully. Is it going to be difficult for Indians to get jobs in Canada?
Honestly, this is something that we feel in our minds this is going to impact us. I think the Canadians have not taken this. I don't think the political situation has impacted recruitment out there because they all know the Indian students are hardworking. Academically, they have been very strong. So they do become attraction for every company to take them. So I honestly don't believe this political fallout will impact employment at all. And I don't think companies even go down to that level to say, oh, because of this fallout, will not take you. I think Canadians are very magnanimous. At a ground reality, if you look at just remove the political fallout, I think students will always be welcomed out there. They'll be very happy out there. I don't think the job placement is going to be impacted. It's all in our minds right now. I think as things settle down, people will see that really it has not impacted employment at all. It will not impact employment because Canadians are very fair, and you'll see if you go to Canada, you'll see how fair they are and how welcome they are. Even today, I had somebody visiting Canada say it's just like a normal country. Nothing has happened. Nothing has changed at ground reality.
Well, as it should be. So further clearing the air around the ground reality in Canada, then should students in Canada apply elsewhere for jobs after they finish their studies?
The question is where. You require visas to study in any country, isn't it? So you're not going to get a visa to USA or to UK to go and work out there. Honestly, I've been telling students for the last year or two, come back to India. You can't get a better place in India. Why should they work anywhere else? India is a happening place today. This is a place for students to come back to. And if you really want to go back to Canada, maybe work for a year or two out here and go back for your postgrad degree there. Hopefully by then, situation will be much better, I'm sure, and you'll get the jobs that you want eventually out there. So I don't think we should take a knee-jerk reaction. Jobs will be good out there. If they don't, come back to India, young people. This is where the action is for the next 10, 15 years.
And sir, you think employers often look favorably at candidates who've completed their education at prestigious institutions abroad?
Not at all. I think our Indian colleges have come of age. Look at the marvelous college that we have in this country, from Ashoka to Kriya to Flame to NMIMS. They're fabulous. I mean, and the IIMs, the IITs. So if you ask any recruiter in this country, given a choice, if you have two students, one from overseas education, one from India, they'll always prefer Indian one. Why? They're more adaptable. They're more malleable. And they're able to fit into the whole working system out here. So that's why when students go abroad, I tell them, go there for the education. Don't think you'll have any distinct advantage when you come back to this country. Yes, you'll have a good education, but you'll be on par with any other student who's gone to a good Indian university. So the advantage of going abroad, which was there maybe 20 years ago, I think with our coming of age in the education system, I think they will be on par, or to some extent, slight 55-45 preference to other Indian students. Talk to recruiters. They'll tell you the same thing. We prefer a student from here than going overseas. But going overseas is not necessary to have an advantage out here. It's for the education, the overall holistic education that you get when you go overseas.
Well, Mr. Doshi, as we wrap, your parting shot for all those students watching who may be interested in or prepping for the college applications to study abroad this year.
I would say keep your doors open. Don't restrict yourself to one particular country. Let's see how things evolve. Canada will not change. It will be as same as it is as before. Please apply everywhere. Keep your doors open and take a call sometime in April, May next year when situations hopefully will improve and you get all the results coming in.
Well, as always, thank you so much, Viral Doshi, for joining us on NDTV. I'm told your calendars are blocked for the next 2 years, so I really appreciate your time. Thank you so much. With that, let's also go across to our other panelists. Joining us from the US, Tinks Taneja. Tinks, some would call you among the lucky ones because not only have you studied in the US, but you're currently working in Philadelphia. Was it tough to find a job straight out of college? Did you face any administrative hurdles?
I did. I graduated my undergrad in an election year, and then I graduated my master's in a COVID year. So both of them proved to be very challenging just for finding jobs. So when I graduated my undergraduate degree, I went right to graduate school. So I didn't have to look for a job then. But when I finished in 2020, it was a big struggle for everyone to find a job. I actually ended up going back to the company I interned with, so it was a little bit easier. But because of COVID, visas were a lot slower, starting virtually was a lot harder, and it's been a bit difficult with various changes in the U.S. immigration system for foreign applicants. So I think it would have been harder if I didn't study in the U.S., but studying here makes it equally hard.
Tinks, have you ever considered working in any other foreign country that doesn't have a stringent visa mechanism in place for international students like the US? Have you considered Canada and the UK, for example?
I have. I've considered Canada and I've considered the UK. But because I've studied architecture, it's very difficult to transition from one country to the other because of local code laws, zoning laws. So I would have to basically start from scratch or go back and do another degree or take various exams. So it would be a big difficult transition. However, if I were to do another major, like if I was studying in another stream, it would be much easier, especially because the UK has now announced a visa for students from certain schools, and one of my graduate school qualifies for that visa. So I could, in theory, move to the UK, but I'm sure that has its own struggles. And Canada is, it's a point system, so I'm eligible for the point system, but it's a lot slower to get a Canadian visa after studying in the US than it is to get it in Canada, but it's probably faster to do it from the US than it is to do it from your home country. So I'm actually in the process of also filing that visa.
Well, thanks so much for joining us on NDTV with your perspective. Let's also rope in Savar Bali at this point. Savar, you studied in Exeter in the UK and in Arizona in the US. Was it difficult finding a job after completing your degree?
I would like to say that the job opportunities there are plentiful. I mean, at the end of the day, it is the West. You just have to kind of attend the student fairs, put in your job applications, and I wouldn't say that they give you an underweight in any sense, like you're equally, regarded as any other student over there. However, of course, there are visa implications and many other issues that fall through. So that is something that's kind of dependent on the current government, whether it's Republican or Democratic government in their policies. However, in terms of applying in general and the student base and the response from an employer, it's very neutral and not as difficult as some people play it out to be.
And you were comfortable completing an undergraduate degree in 4 years in the US as opposed to 3 years in countries like the UK and Canada?
Yeah, I mean, it totally depends on your goals. Some people want to get into the job world as soon as they can. So for those people, definitely, if you can achieve the same kind of education in a shorter period, why not? But some people want to kind of have a more holistic campus university experience where you might have to spend another year. So it's kind of up to personal preference, in my opinion.
And you think if a person studies abroad, it's considered a chink in their armor as far as seeking employment is concerned?
I think that Indian colleges should ideally also have the same weight, say, from an IIT, IIM, or one of the big ones. However, naturally, I feel exposure to another country and, understanding the ways of how global business works, or, whatever field that the person is joining, should naturally have a little bit of, give a little bit of an extra boost to your CV or your job portfolio, naturally.
Right. We also have with us immigration expert Rohit Sharma. Thank you so much, sir, for being so patient. You've just heard from Tinks Taneja and Savar Bali. Stringent visa mechanisms seem to be a recurring issue for many Indian students. So what's the way forward? What's your advice, especially for those struggling to gain or renew visas?
Thank you very much, Prameshwar, for having me on the show to start with. Yes, I've been waiting with some patience, and thank you for that as well. Right, coming to this question of yours, first and foremost, I believe, that this Indo-Canada blip that has happened, with due respect to the sensitivity of the matter, I think it is more of a perception, more of a self-imposed, feeling that actually has created. And that's very common. Human mind react to situations like this. But the fact is, this entire episode happened in the month of September. And by the time, in fact, all the universities and colleges were sold out. Right, the students were already there in Canada. Now, now we are sitting in the month of October, and everything is actually diluting off. Things are actually getting back to the track. In fact, they never went off the track. Now, the thing is, when the students are applying for education to Canada, please understand they are looking forward to the sessions which are coming in January or May or June. So by the time, I don't see anything, that is going to diffuse out to this entire, immigration and the visa plans and all of the students. Also, if Indian students are, when it comes to the number of students, traveling to Canada across the globe, if Indian make the most number of students, from all the students that have landed in Canada, in fact, last year, 2022, the 47% of the international students that landed in Canada, Indians were making that 47% of that. So if Indians were landing in Canada over the last so many years, and they are still landing, and Canadian government is also welcoming, then all this thing was happening and is happening for some right reasons. Now, those right reasons just don't turn bad overnight. So students migrate to Canada, for studies. They want to study there. They want to have their work permits. They want to have permanent residency pathways. That's one of the key reasons. It comes in a North American umbrella. All is well. So there is no visa technicalities. Nothing is going to happen. You need to apply as per the requirement which were placed 1 month back. There is no change in the requirement itself. There is no documentation that they are saying, hello, now this has happened. We are asking you this ABCD document. Nothing is there. So students can simply apply and take this opportunity. It is up and happening, as I'm being very open to you on this.
Right, Rohit Sharma. Thank you so much for that crucial clarification. Thank you so much for joining us on NDTV. Well, that's all on this episode of India Global. Thank you for investing your time and watching. Goodbye.